As a first-time home buyer, there are some mistakes that you can make when purchasing a home or going through this process. So I thought I would bring some of them up during Money Chat today. I'm not a realtor, but I do have some experience on seeing some things that have happened because there's going to be things that go wrong during the purchasing process. There's things that go wrong during the finance process. And actually, you could make a mistake in actually purchasing real estate. So you want to think about a lot of things before you get out into the market, get too excited about what's happening. Now, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in the real estate market because of the low interest rates. Inventory is lower as well, which we all know, supply and demand. There is just not enough inventory to go around for all the people that want to be homeowners. Now, according to the National Association of Realtors, pending home sales rose sharply in May with lower mortgage rates and increased inventory pushing home sales upward in all 4 regions in the U.S. Now, let's go through a couple of these mistakes. First, I want to talk about, and this is not just necessarily first-time home buyers in all of these areas, but right now for someone that doesn't own a home, you do have another alternative by not purchasing real estate, and that's renting. So I am a believer in home ownership, and I don't want to give any other reason to think that I don't. I'm a huge believer in home ownership, but understanding what your options are and making sure that it's right for you is really, really important. So I want to give you the pros and cons to both sides as I break these down for you. First of all, just run the numbers. Running the numbers is not going to lie. It's really easy to see exactly what makes most sense for you, depending on what you're willing to pay for rent and what it would cost for you to get in a home in an area that you want to be in, and looking at those numbers. But here's some of the things that you want to take in consideration. Always look at the deduction that you'll have for a mortgage, your ability to write off your interest and taxes. Now, I do want to put a disclosure in there. If you're in a standard deduction, if you're doing standard deduction, once you itemize items, then you're not going to receive your standard deduction. So you want to understand how that works. Talk to a licensed CPA. I'm not. But if you're calculating that you're going to have a tax benefit on your interest and you're not, that's going to be a substantial difference that you're looking at. So you want to pay close attention to that. Now, also as a first-time home buyer, some of you out there may qualify for a tax credit. There's a 20% tax credit available for people that have not owner-occupied a property in the last 3 years. There is an income restriction. It's give or take going to be around $97,000. Just depends on how many people are in your household, but just a gauge in our local market here of the income. So that helps a lot of people, that you're obviously not going to see that as a renter. Now, on home ownership, you also want to take in consideration that a portion of that payment that you're making is actually going towards the equity in your home because you're paying down that mortgage. So depending on how much you're borrowing, what the interest rate is, you could be looking at, $500 a month out of that payment that is actually going down to the equity position of your home because you're paying down the mortgage. Obviously, you've got appreciation that you're not going to be seeing if you're renting. Now, rent, on the other hand, missing out on the equity, missing out on the appreciation. I think also people forget the fact that rent never ends. There is no end in payment for rent. Whereas mortgage, at some point in time, you're going to have that paid off as long as you don't take out another loan that's going to start for another 30 years. But that mortgage is paid off in a 30-year term. So there is a time frame that you can look at that you're actually going to be mortgage free or house over your head, not having to pay for free outside of taxes and insurance. Homeownership, the additional costs that you would have. So you want to take a look at the expenses because obviously there's things as a renter you're not going to have. You're not going to have maintenance, repair. But at the same time, anything that you're deciding to do to your property as a homeowner, you're going to be able to participate in sweat equity. Whereas if you were renting, anything that you want to do to better your home, paint, new carpet and things like that, not only do you have to get permission, but that's money you're just throwing away because that's not your home. Commitment. There is a commitment for homeownership as far as location. So if you're not really sure where you want to be, I was just talking to Patrick and Shannon as we were waiting for the show to start here. A couple of our guests in studio. My stepdaughter just moved from Colorado. Her and her boyfriend are living with my husband and I for a little while to make sure that they like Seattle and figure out where they want to live. But they just bought a $500,000 home in Colorado. So there was a little bit of commitment there. They really wanted to be here. Didn't think things out as well because they probably would have waited to buy that property. So location or the fact that you have a commitment to where you're purchasing your home, whereas rent, it really doesn't matter. You can pick up and leave anytime you want to. So just some differences there in considering, does it make more sense for you to rent or to purchase a home. Now, here's another mistake. Home equity, your home is not an ATM card. I said home equity. It almost came out of my mouth because that's exactly where I'm going. You are building equity in your home, and now that banks are getting a little more comfortable with that we're seeing appreciation in our properties, there's a lot of banks out there that are getting really aggressive on home equity lines of credit. So I highly encourage not to use your home as an ATM card. You really want to strategically see if it makes sense. Now, in a lot of situations, it does. If you're going to be able to better improve your home, that's going to increase the value. That's great. If you're paying off other debt that's going to cost more than the cost of borrowing against your home, that's great. But again, just some things to think about to make sure that you're not making mistakes here as a first-time home buyer. Not preparing to compete in the market. So if you made a decision, you've done your comparison, home ownership is for you, you're moving forward. Don't make any quick decisions. Think everything out ahead of time before you start getting out in the market, because once you get out on the market, you've got to think quick. You've got to think yesterday when you see a house. I mean, literally, you've got to run forward. So get all that other stuff taken care of first before you start looking at properties. Understand escalation clauses, waiving inspection, waiving financing, higher earnest money. So these are all tips that you need to have when you're competing in this aggressive market. So you want to make sure that you consult with your realtor. I happen to have one of the best right here next to me in studio today that you're going to hear from next, Tyler, that can answer questions for you as well. So understand what those options are. Put the car before the home. You need to get approved. You need to understand your financing. You've got to know what your payment is. You have to know how much cash that you need and that you actually can qualify for the home and you feel comfortable in that payment. Too much faith on online. It's really, really great to get out there and take a look at properties online. Any counselors, credit counselors, mortgage professionals, the real estate community, everybody is encouraging to get an idea of what's out there. But you want to make sure that you're actually sitting down and meeting with a mortgage consultant, meeting with a realtor face to face and getting an idea of really what this process is and what all your options are available. So it's just kind of an initial start process to get into the market, but then take the time to meet with somebody and really build that relationship. Half of borrowers claim to grasp just the basic understanding and loan terms and conditions, but more than 2 out of every 5 have bad experiences stem from misunderstanding of fees, terms, and owner cost, according to a recent survey by Price Waterhouse Coopers. So a lot of information. I've got more to share. I'll share next Saturday. Make sure you come back for the home buying tips or understanding if it makes sense for you to be a homeowner and to make sure that you're looking at all of your options. And coming up next on the Money Hour, if you're selling your home and you want to make sure that you're getting the best price on the market, you want to make sure that you're working with great representation, and that's why I have Tyler Freed in studio, Windermere Real Estate, right here on 1150 and KKNW after the short break.